As a nation, we are miserably failing the millions of people with mental health problems. 1 in 5 people have to wait a year for mental health therapy. 1 in 10 people have to wait 2 years. Now that's useless for somebody with depression or anxiety or stress. And whilst I hesitate to say it, that is a national disgrace. And I believe that we're now only months away from a real crisis. The cracks are already there. 1 in 6 of us have a mental health problem in any given week. That's 10 million people. And whilst antidepressants may be a useful temporary elastoplast for those who are really struggling, they are not and they cannot be a solution. So the only answer is a massive increase in the availability of mental health education and talking therapy. Now, whilst the government is waking up to the size of the problem and they're promising a complete overhaul of mental health services within the NHS, training and employing thousands of new staff is going to take years. In the meantime, the wonderful work done by the royal family under the Heads Together campaign and the awareness days like the recent World Mental Health Awareness Day and National Stress Awareness Day is radically raising the visibility of mental health issues and starting the process of lowering the stigma associated with them. Now, in the long term, there will be huge benefits in terms of people being able to talk about their problems much earlier. And as a result, many of these people will not need to see a therapist. It's only really when you bottle things up and you hide them that they get so much more difficult to deal with. But in the short term, this wonderful work will actually bring on the crisis I've just referred to. More and more people will start putting their hands up for help, which in theory is great. But the NHS already can't cope. So we're going to be sending these people into a black hole. So what can we do in the short term? Well, there are 2 types of organisation that can have a massive effect on mental health, who are much more flexible and can start making a difference almost immediately. Companies and schools and universities. So much of beating and eliminating stress, anxiety and depression comes down to education and coaching. Now, when we understand how our mind works, how we're creating the reality we don't want, where the stress and anxiety and or depression have come from and why they're there, we're already well over halfway to dealing with them. This education can be done in workshops and seminars and of course online. Now, with regards to the workplace, work is one of the biggest sources of stress, anxiety and depression, and the statistics are horrific. According to a recent survey carried out by Deloitte, 80% of us are disengaged from our work. And because we spend between 65 and 80% of our waking life at work, it can't be a great surprise that so many people are struggling. Now, companies are legally obliged to help their employees avoid work-related stress. So many companies are starting to introduce a coaching element to their management training. But independent coaches without an axe to grind would be much more effective. So all employees could easily have access to educational seminars and online programs and then to personal coaches. And there's a very simple reason why a company should do this. It will improve their bottom line. Now here's a very simplistic equation that shows you why. When we get stressed, our cognitive ability and therefore our productivity drops by as much as 40%. And creative thinking, a skill increasingly essential to more and more jobs, is shut down completely when we're stressed. So let's take a round number salary and say somebody's getting paid £100,000. If they get stressed, and the vast majority of people that are paid that amount are stressed, then they are only contributing £60,000 worth of work. So if it costs £5,000 a year to help that person beat their stress through education and coaching and regain their productivity, then the company gets most, if not all, of the £35,000 back that's missing in their productivity. And with regards to the youngsters at school and uni, there's a lot of work to do. 1 in 10 children between 5 and 16 have a diagnosable condition. Half of all mental health problems are established by the age of 14. 3/4 of mental health problems are established by age 24. So why the hell is there no mental health education on the school curriculum? And the simple answer is that mental health is not measured in the school league tables. Only academic results count. Now, I put a team of coaches together a couple of years ago to go into schools to teach the kids about mental health, and despite the fact that we were doing this for free, we were only able to engage with 1 school, and even that was a bit of a nightmare. And interestingly, the teachers were just as desperate for the seminars for themselves. The schools simply couldn't find the time on the curriculum, even though they knew that self-harm, eating disorders, stress, anxiety and depression were rife, and even in extreme examples there were suicides. Mental health simply wasn't a priority. That has to change. School is exactly the time to empower youngsters to look after their mental as well as their physical health. Mental health education simply has to be part of the curriculum at school, and in the short term at university too. And coaches need to be made available across the board. Now, these are pretty simple but extremely powerful and far-reaching solutions that could be put in place quickly. And by the way, keep your eyes peeled for the Mark Newey Method Liberation online program. We're launching in a few weeks, and this is exactly what the program is designed to deliver.